This is today's photo with today's class, associated with today's class. So, do you recognize these actors, and do you know the films that these sort of scenes are from? So, we're talking about films today, and particular difficult to understand scenes in films. So, this one here, I definitely recognize this one. So, anyone know these actors? Who's this? Who are these guys? They're all men, of course, no ladies here. And do you know the films associated?
I know he played a role in a Matrix.
Oh,
Yeah,
Matrix. Yeah, this guy over here.
Matrix.
Yeah, The
Yeah,
Matrix. Yeah,
and about the left one, it is probably yeah, it is a well-known actor,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I know him from the Titanic.
Oh,
Tita
Titanic.
Titanic, yeah, but this is
Titanic.
guy in the middle. I'm
Mm,
not. I don't know about him. Nothing.
yeah. So the other guys are a bit younger nowadays, and this guy is he must be retired now. But he was a much loved actor, definitely done some amazing films. He's a bit crazy also. His name known to be a little bit crazy. He comes over a little bit crazy, but very exciting actor. So, Elena, what do you think? Who is the guy in the middle? Do you know the guy in the middle? Or the film that it's from? It's too hard to know, I think,
I
really.
think he's well known by film about Hannibal Lecter,
Hannibal Lecter.
Silence of Lambs.
I think he was in the film. The Postman Always Knocks Twice. He's also in the film One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And there was another film, a Stephen King movie, where I think he was a writer that went a bit nuts and tried to kill his wife. And I'm guessing he looks a bit crazy here with the way his eyes are. You can see the white of his eyes are at the bottom here, aren't they? And when you can see that, that's a slightly, in an acting sort of a world, that sort of, it sort of shows slightly madness, or I'm a bit crazy. And I think he's acting that role. Oh, was it Nicholson? That's right, Nicholson. Oh, I can't think what his other name is. Something Nicholson. But these are all Hollywood actors. So what's this guy's name up here? He's a bit of a hunk, isn't he? Much loved and of the ladies. Who's this guy over here? So this is Jack Nicholson. That's his name, Jack Nicholson. Who's this one? Anyone know? Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Leonardo
Leonardo
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And this
Mm.
is from The Matrix. It's Keanu Reeves from The Matrix. This is one of the scenes from The Matrix, and I don't know what film he's in here. But with a gun, is he a hitman or something? Something like that? Okay, let's go over them. Okay, let's go over. And hopefully maybe to explain which films these things come from. So we're reading today from faroutmagazine.co.uk. And this is titled 10 Movie Scenes You've Seen Hundreds of Times but Still Can't Explain. And here's the writer, Liam. This is a very Irish sounding name. The surname is a bit tricky. So the Irish say it's something like Gaughan. Gaughan, I think. Yeah, Gaughan, I would say that is. Others would pronounce that. The Americans would not pronounce it that way. So there's a certain variety of ways. And the first name is Liam, which is, you could say it's a short version of William. So with the name Liam, it's just the last four letters, isn't it, you see, with William. So it's a version, another version of William, Liam is. Okay, so it was written about 5 days ago, apparently, or put on the website 5 days ago. So looks like the introduction, this first bit. So Ruslan, you came in first. Do you fancy reading the first paragraph or two, up to about there,
Mm.
perhaps? Or however much you fancy, really. So over to you, Ruslan.
Okay. Second. If a film leaves its audience asking questions, there is a good chance that they will return to it. As much as the mystery box model has been useful in generating hype for high profile new releases, not every film can be sold, at least not in the literal sense. Uh, mm, whether a film is successful is depend upon what the audience finds satisfying, which can be entirely subjective. In many cases, the film may go so far as to insert a moment of um, uh, ability that makes it more interesting to discuss in the years to come. Leaving some aspects of the film open to interpretation can be a dangerous choice, as some audience might rebel if they are not given an ending that they understand. However, a film is likely to age better if it continues to generate uh, thoughtful investigation. There is only so much that a filmmaker can do explain something that was intended to be expressive. Usually, it is more satisfying if there are multiple legitimate ways to read a film. A film.
Hmm. That was interesting. Nicely read too, very nicely read. A
Yeah,
good
thank you.
pace, nice good pace to it as well. On this last line, maybe if I just reread the last line there. The word I noticed was this one here. So I think you said something like multiply, but it's similar, but it's actually multiple, multiple.
Multiple.
So it's another way of saying many, similar to many. So you said multiply. If you multiply two numbers together, you get many, lots of them, don't you? So it's related, but it's just like different pronunciation. That's it. So multiple. I'll just read it again too. Then it's your go once again. So there are multiple legitimate ways to read a film. So it's your go.
There are multiple legitimate ways to read a film.
Yeah, that's nice. That's it. Yeah, you got multiple. That's it. So with your there, you could have been a bit stronger with the th at the beginning. So there.
There are multiple.
Oh no, hold on. Then you just said dare. You said dare just then. Dare. So you made that a D at the front, sort of thing. So there.
There.
Oh no, no, no. That's still definitely a D. Dare. You're saying dare. So so it's the tongue sticking
There.
out very slightly. Oh, that sounded. Yeah,
Okay.
that was it. Yeah, there. That's it. There.
There.
Oh no, no, you went back again. So
There.
just bear it in mind for the future. We won't go over it again. But yeah, I know you can do it. It's sort of concentrating, isn't it? So if you're a bit
Yeah.
tired, if you're ill or something, it's hard to do these things, isn't it? So we won't play on that. Okay. Um, so maybe this word here. So it's legitimate. That's a normal. I think you said legitimate. So you're saying it very steadily, very slowly. Everyone will understand what you're saying. That's okay. But it is nice if you can just say it slightly faster. So legitimate, legitimate.
Legitimate.
Yeah,
Legitimate
yeah,
ways.
yeah. You get that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah.
Legitimate.
And sometimes people sometimes just say, "Is it legit?" Is it? That's
Legit.
basically that's a simple, that's a sort of very colloquial way of saying, is it legal? Is it legal? It might be illegal otherwise. Legit. Yeah, I think it was great. Well done. Multiple. That's it. Anything in here that was useful for you, interesting, or you didn't quite understand, or anything like that? Pronunciation?
Mm. Yeah, actually, there is
Mm.
one moment. Where is it? Mm. Okay, I would like to ask about
Mm.
generating. It is looks like creating. Yeah, for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah, that's right. So, or making. I tend to think as
making.
making. So you're making a movie, making a film, or making a play, making up a story in a book or something like that. Yeah. So, what did you make of that first line, though? So if I just read up to the first comma, maybe. If I read it back
Okay.
to, what does it mean, do you think? So so we're talking about film endings and film endings at heart. Well, I said film endings. No, it's just a particular, any point in the movie, whether it's very hard to understand what's going on. I thought it was film endings, but it isn't. So, so as much as the mystery box model has been useful in generating hype for high-profile new releases, then it says not every film can be solved. But what does that mean? That bit there. What is it really sort of saying? Is it clear to you what it's saying? Do you have an idea what it's saying?
Yeah, I have some idea, but
Mm.
I'm not sure that it can be uh, right. Okay, it's actually about the mystery moment.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which was created by by some reason
Mm.
to insert it in a film. Yeah,
Mm. Mm.
to make it like
Yeah.
yeah some unhidden moment or
Mm.
make people to think more.
Yes, yes. I think that's it, isn't it? Yes, that's exactly it. They're using this idea of a mystery box. So something we don't understand. Something
Yeah.
but the box never gets opened, but they keep talking about it. Something like that. Yeah, yeah. I think you have a perfect idea of it. So with the word, so this is the word hype. I think there's you pronounce probably most of the words really quite well, actually. So with the word, including hype. So what do you understand by with the word hype? What does it mean, hype?
Yeah.
Could you put it in a sentence maybe to explain?
Yeah, actually, in a sense, hype. Okay, before his performance,
Hmm.
he uh, he made a big hype of these events. For example, like this,
Yeah.
he just made people to be interested in his event. For
Yes.
example,
Yeah.
if it about the performance.
Yes, I think you've explained it quite well, though. That's exactly it. Yes. So before his performance, he tried to generate a lot of hype to get people more interested in his play or something like that. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yes, well done. Spot on. Very good, very good. Um, I know there was the word. Um, I think you stopped for half a moment when you came to that word there. So
Yeah,
yeah, is that okay
it
for you,
is.
that word, or
Yeah, it is actually yeah,
I think you're
a,
okay when you said it. Yeah. So
a literal,
yeah, yeah,
literal,
literal. Yeah, that's exactly how I would say
literal.
it.
Yeah,
And
because
what does it? What does it
normally.
mean? Oh yeah, Karen, Karen.
Yeah, because I used to read it like
Mm.
not literal, but literal like this.
Oh,
Yeah, and that's why.
literature, as in literature. Is that what you mean?
Literally.
Mm.
Yeah, it's yeah. I used to read it wrong. Yeah, but
Yeah. Oh,
now
I see.
probably I
Yeah,
got it.
you did it very well. That was good. That was good. Yeah. So literally would have an ly on the end. pretty much the same meaning, but it is just where you would use it, unless I'm wrong, of course. If you disagree with me, do say, and we can talk about it a bit longer. Um, so literal.
Literal. It is
Yeah.
like a particular, yeah? No, no?
Yeah, it's more, that's right, it's more specific, isn't it? Yeah, it's probably a specific sense, you could say. That's right. Or a specific example, perhaps. How about, could you just say that little bit there again, maybe? That bit there?
Yes. Which can be entirely subjective.
Yeah.
Subjective.
Yeah, that's really good, I think. Yes, perhaps the W at the front of which was maybe a
Which,
bit
yeah,
tricky. Yeah, you've
which.
got it there, really. Yeah, so which can be entirely subjective. So that's an interesting word, subjective. Do you know the
Subject.
meaning of subjective?
It is probably to be in a
Mm,
main role. No, I
main
guess
role.
so. Subjective.
Um, r- there might be something in that area to do with that, but most of the time, when you say you're talking about the word subjective, in other words, it's a particular person's view on something or a particular person's idea, one person. You might say the opposite to subjective is objective. And sometimes people say, oh, you're not very objective about issues. And so what they're saying is that you don't seem to be able to see the wider issue. But if you're subjective, you see it just from one person's point of view, and normally that would be just yours, wouldn't it, I guess? So there's objective and there's subjective, and one is looking at from is quick look at this. So subjective assessment. So that's sort of one person's assessment from one point of view, a subjective assessment. Subjective concept. So this is just one person's concept from one person's view, that sort of thing. All these ideas, subjective impression. So from looking at something from just one perspective, not looking at it from any other possible ways of looking at something. So that's where the idea comes from. Let me just quickly search that phrase or word, I should just that one word now. And so the opposite, as I say, would be objective, and that means looking at it from outside of your views, everyone's views, the general view, maybe. So something that is subjective is based on personal opinions, so just one person, and feelings rather than on facts. Yeah, that's probably a better way of putting it. So we know that taste in art is a subjective matter. Yeah, of course it is. You can only talk about art from your own perspective, I suppose, really, and enjoy it from one person's perspective. So they're saying another words that are similar to subjective are personal, emotional, even prejudiced. So that means sort of biased, and then it says biased. So so biased and prejudice are quite similar words, aren't they? And okay, so there's quite a few different usage of the word. They've got about 7 different usages of the word there. Okay, let's go back again. So that's the article. Um, any other words that are interesting to you? Or you want to practice again?
Yeah. And then yeah, insert a moment of
Yeah.
ambiguity.
Yeah, that's pretty good actually. So yes, so insert, so put inside. Insert means put inside normally, inside something. So a surgeon might put something inside your body. In a film, they might insert an idea into the film. They stick something into the film. So lots of ways of using it. So insert a moment of ambiguity. So ambiguity, it's coming back to this idea of mystery box. So mystery box and ambiguity are basically they're very similar ideas. So ambiguity is something where things aren't clear. It could mean a few different things. It could mean a
Okay.
few different things. It's not clear what it means or what happened or So this is the idea of mystery box coming back in. So they're saying, put a few moments of things that aren't clear into in the story. That's what it's saying, isn't it? That makes
Okay.
it more interesting to discuss in the years to come. If you make everything absolutely dead certain it's what happens, there's nothing to talk about in the movie afterwards, is there? Everyone understood it because it was really plainly, obviously clear. There was nothing to be confused about. So yeah, you have to make some ambiguity. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, Tony, about this ambiguity,
Mm.
for example, where we can use this words,
Word. It's a little bit
words.
sort of literal literature in terms of literature. I would say it gets a fair amount of use, I suppose. So you might be reading something. Let's look at their examples. There is considerable ambiguity about what this part of the agreement actually means. So something's been written in a document and people can't really don't really understand it. It's not very clear. Then that's that one there. So this one is some this is a good one. Students sometimes struggle with the ambiguities of the English language. Things that can't be understood easily. Yeah. Things that can
Ambiguity.
mean two different things or two or three different things.
For
So
example, can
hmm.
we describe the person like ambiguity?
Um, yeah, you might do. It sounds a little bit, yeah, a little bit an interesting thing to do. Yeah, this person is very ambiguous. So we put that
Oh,
different ending on the end of it.
oh,
iOS.
okay.
I find this person very ambiguous. I never know what he means, what he wants me to do, or that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So there's another example here. The author's style suggests a certain ambiguity in his moral view. That's interesting. So I don't know if you'd say that about sort of Roman Rudin. What would be his and what was his
Yeah.
moral position, apart from being extremely hard to understand. Okay, so that's good. Good. Anything else? This last chunk
Mm.
down here.
Yeah, about to in interpretation.
Oh yeah, yeah, that comes up. Yes.
Interpretation, yeah.
Um, so when you have different meanings, because ambiguity means there could be more than one meaning to something. You can also say, well, my interpretation of the story is that it means this. So my way of, if you translate a story from Russian into English, you could say you're an interpreter. So you put the Russian into the English. And this is a similar word. It's the same idea, really. You could use the word interpretation. So
It is like a translation, yeah,
sort of, yeah, pretty much, yes.
like
Yeah.
an explanation, yeah, but
Yeah.
not exactly the word by word, yeah, but actually when I uh, read the story and I was gonna to tell you this
Hmm.
story and I will do it in my way, and I will
Yes.
say that I gave you interpretation of mine vision of this story. Yeah, like this.
Yeah, yeah, that's really pretty much it there. That's it, I think. So an interpretation of something is an opinion about what it means. That's the noun, the verb. So as a noun, it says a performer's interpretation of something, such as a piece of music or a role in a play, is the particular way in which they choose to perform it. So an actor may be doing a play that's been, let's say, a Shakespeare play that's been performed many hundreds of times before, and they give their own interpretation or put their own color onto the way that they perform that role in the play. They play that character in the way that they want to play it, or the way that the
So
director has shown them. And
yeah,
so that's
but
their interpretation of the role. Yeah. Yeah.
with the same meaning. Yeah, with the same structure. Yeah.
It's the same. Oh, he'd have to use the same words, but he may cry when
Oh,
other actors have shouted or something. I don't know.
okay. Yeah, okay.
And maybe maybe they will change the words. You never know. Anything's possible. Or yeah, in someone's voice or the way they look on their eyes or in their on their mouth. Are they angry? Are they happy? There's lots of different interpretations in that sense. But so if I just read that again, then so leaving some aspects of a film open to interpretation, your way, my way, can be a dangerous choice. That's interesting. So anything else there then? Anything else there?
Rebel. How about rebel?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So
yeah. How we can replace it? How can we replace this
um,
word?
so
Um,
so rebel and
rebel.
rebel.
Ah,
So yeah, might rebel. So someone who might rebel, it's a rebellion is an insurrection. If a country has a rebellion, they're having an insurrection. So they're trying to change the government normally, or they're just
ah,
not very happy with their pay, and so everyone's rebelling. And it sounds sometimes it's violent, but it doesn't have to necessarily be. So, but you might be so is there two ways of saying it? So there's rebel and there's let me just
rebel.
yeah, rebel. There's rebel and there's let's put it in there. I think there must be two ways of saying the word. Sometimes the noun and the verb are different. So here we go. Yeah. So the noun is pronounced one way, and the verb is pronounced another. I think you sort of pronounced it in the little bit in the middle. So let's just listen to how they say it. Oh, this picture keeps coming up over here. It looks very AI to me, that picture. Looks a bit too
Yeah,
perfect. I'm like, okay, so the noun is pronounced. So if let's work out the meanings of it. So rebels are people who are fighting against their country's army in order to change the political system there, wherever it is. So fighting between rebels and government forces, rebel forces in Liberia. There we go. So the two ways of saying it are,
rebel,
as a noun, it's rebel. As a verb, it's pronounced
rebel,
rebel. There we go. So
rebel.
rebel
Yeah,
and rebel. So it's a bit confusing, but that's just how it is.
rebel.
So, yeah, rebel and rebel. Um, let's do it again. So the noun is. Do you want to do it? Do you want to say the word after
Yeah,
this? So I'll play the little speaker. Then it's your go to copy them. So the first one is rebel.
rebel,
Sorry, rebel. Your go.
rebel.
Yeah, pretty good. Rebel. Once more.
rebel,
Rebel. Oh,
Yeah. Reb. So reb and then all, I think, isn't it? Pretty much. Not exactly all, but
rebel.
rebel, rebel,
Ah,
rebel.
rebel. Rebel.
Yeah. Yeah.
rebel,
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
rebel.
yeah. A rebel. A
Yeah.
rebel.
Well, let's listen to this verb then.
rebel,
Rebel. Yeah.
Oh, rebel.
Yeah. Rebel. Yeah.
Rebel.
Rebel. So it's more like bell, as in a sound of a bell, clinging, clanking, maybe or something. Tricky. Another one to
Yeah.
come back to. So. But we don't use the word that much, really, do we? Not in everyday
Yeah,
languages.
but
But
in this context, we have like a noun. Yeah, it is a rebel. A rebel.
might rebel. Audiences might rebel.
Or it is verb. Yeah, it is
I
verb
think it's
probably.
rebel, isn't it? So that's the verb, isn't it? That is the verb, isn't it?
Choose somebody
Yeah,
else.
that is the verb. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's the verb. It is a rebel.
So they're doing it, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Because they're sitting in their chairs watching the film. I'm going to rebel against this.
Yeah, it's rebel. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's tricky, isn't it?
How about my pronunciation about um, thoughtful investigation?
Yes, that was the only other one I noticed. Yeah, so the th quite woolly, so it's a bit weak. The
Okay.
th at the front.
Big.
So th.
Thoughtful.
Yeah. So I'm putting my tongue out, just very slight, just the tip, and I'm blowing air along my tongue in my mouth, so it hits my teeth and then comes out sort of through my teeth. my top set of teeth. Th, th,
th,
th, th,
th,
th,
th,
th. Bit bubbly.
th,
Th, th, th.
th.
Thoughtful, thoughtful.
Thoughtful.
Yeah,
Thoughtful.
that is it. Yeah, the first one was spot on. Absolutely.
th-
Thoughtful. Yeah, thoughtful.
Thoughtful.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
thoughtful. So,
Mm,
and, but being that there's an F there, that is always a little bit tricky. So making an F sound there, but here it's a TH sound. So, and those two are quite similar. And a lot of people mix them up, so it's easy to get tricked. Thought. So maybe just concentrate on saying thought, and
th-
then maybe once you got thought, okay, then practice thoughtful, thoughtful.
mm, yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. We'll leave it there. That's okay. So we might overrun a little bit, Elena. So if you've got time to hang on, please do.
Yeah,
So Elaine, have you got any questions about this little bit that we read out here?
no questions.
Great. Okay. Okay. So okay. Thank you very
But,
much, Ruslan. We'll roll
But
on.
thank you.
Okay. So do you want to do this next bit here? Not
yeah,
every
not every film.
there maybe. Okay.
Okay. Not every film that includes moments that are confusing or disorienting is necessarily effective, and in many cases, some scenes don't work simply because the film itself wasn't well written or there were narrative gaps left unaddressed, but the ones worth returning to are those that reach an apex in creativity, and no matter how many times they are viewed, remain fascinating. 10, 10 movies since you've seen 100 times but still can't understand.
Okay. Let me
Or
just quickly
is it
go.
advertising?
Let's just quickly go back over
Yeah.
that then. Anything there you want to ask about? Is it reasonably clear or anything?
The just pronunciation.
So yeah,
Disorienting.
yeah, you're pretty close. Let's do those three odd word, those two or three words there. So confusing or disorienting,
Con-
disorienting, I would say.
Confusing or disorienting.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, sort of vaguely similar meanings between the two of them. I think you know confusing, okay, but suppose more if you're disoriented. So I'll put an ed on the end of it there.
Mhm.
Disoriented. It's more you don't know which direction to walk in, or you don't know where north is, or you don't know where your car is. I'm
Mhm.
disoriented. I don't know where my car is, or where or that sort of thing. So, but it's very similar to confuse, isn't it? Really, in a sense. So, do you want to say it again? This word here, so disorienting.
Disorienting.
Let's let's practice it a bit more. So let's pop it in there. Disorienting. Now, how would they say
Disorienting.
it? Oh, they don't seem to have. They've not put. They say it's quite a rare. When they got just one dot there or one pellet, they're saying it's not very common. Um, so this one down here is disorientating. So that's tating. So there's the at is missing out of here. So it's basically the same though. So maybe we'll do the other word. Maybe do both of them. So they're saying they're not really sort of giving us any possibility of listening to that version of the word, but it's disorienting. So this is or disorientating. So let's do this one instead. And there's nothing here to do here either, is there? So, but it's just disorienting. Disorienting. I thought there might be a little button we could click to play it, but there isn't one here. So orient. So orient means the east. So it's about directions in a way. The word
Mhm.
orient means the east. So another word for China used to be the Orient, but with a capital O. So it's about directions. This word is about directions and not knowing what's the correct direction, basically. So disorientating. So this has got the tate bit here. Do you want to say that word, this version?
Diso-
Disorientating. Yeah.
Disorientating.
So let's
Too many sounds.
yeah, but it is. Let's miss that bit out. Let's miss that bit out and just pretend there's an E there.
Just cut on
So
pieces.
yeah, so that would be disorient,
Disorient.
disorient. Yeah.
Hmm.
Disorient. So if I'm going to disorient you by telling you that west is that way when it's really south is that direction, that would disorient you because you, oh, well, is that right? So well, that can't be right because so that's disorient. So let's just do disorient. Disorient.
Disorient. Disorient.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good, I'd say. Disorient.
Disorient.
Yeah, so
Mm. Disorient.
disorient. So I,
Disorient.
I think they're not sort of highlighting it down here, but I think there's a little bit of emphasis on this O. So it's disorient. Disorient.
Disorient. Disorient.
Yeah, disorient. Yeah, well, you're getting it, I think. It was a little bit more practice, maybe. Um,
Disorient. Disorient.
disorient. Disorient.
Mhm. Because it's O pronounces like an O, not just or.
Uh,
O.
um, I think we are. I think I'm saying or. I think I'm saying orient. Yeah, I think I'm saying or when I'm reading it out. I'm trying to anyway. Disorient. Disorient. Disor. Or. I'm probably saying or actually. Or.
Orient.
Disorient. Disorient. Do you think you're getting it or not really?
Yeah, disorienting.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds pretty clear, I would say. Yes, I think so. Okay. So confusing, disorienting. But they're saying mostly it's disorientating, but yeah, the same meaning really. But anything else that's up here?
Mm.
I think when you said the word scenes, I think the C and the S and the C together, the sound isn't very clear. So scenes. So in a film, it's
Mhm.
divided up into different scenes, you could say. Yeah.
Beans.
And again, scenes.
Beans.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's okay, I think. That's okay. Um, anything else?
I don't understand the meaning of this phrase, an
Yeah.
apex in creativity.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to highlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the pronunciation. I think when you first said that word, it didn't sound quite right. So an apex is the top of something, the
Mm.
pinnacle, the absolute. Does that make
Like a,
sense?
yes,
Okay.
like a, yes.
The top of
Summit,
something.
like a summit.
Yeah, the summit. That's right. Summit of a
Mhm.
mountain, you could say is the apex.
Mhm.
Or the top of a pyramid in Egypt. You could say at the top of the pyramid in Egypt is the
Mhm.
apex or something like that. You wouldn't exactly say that, but there you go. So this line here, you don't quite understand it. Is that what you were saying? Is that what you said?
Now it's I understood the
Okay.
meaning.
Okay, let me read that whole thing back. Might bring something out. So this paragraph goes like this. So not every film that includes moments that are confusing or disorienting is necessarily effective. So it's not very good necessarily to do that, I think he's saying. Then it carries on. And in many cases, some scenes don't work simply because the film itself wasn't well written, or there were narrative gaps left unaddressed. But the ones worth returning to are those that reach an apex in creativity, and no matter how many times they are viewed, remain fascinating. Yeah, that's quite well put, I think. Okay, and then it says 10, then it lists the movies we're going to look at if we get the time. So have you guys got time to carry on a little bit longer? So because it's just about 7 minutes to seven now. So Elena, do you want to read this first film? So there was a
Mhm.
film from 2001, and it was called Mulholland Drive, and David Lynch was
Mhm.
the director, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe just only about this movie.
Okay, over
Mhm.
to you.
The dinner scene, Mulholland Drive, by David Lynch, 2001. David Lynch is notorious for not only making some of the most surreal and disturbing films ever made, but for refusing to explain them, always hesitant in interviews to offer a definitive interpretation of the thematic ideas that he was dealing with on each on his films, which is why they continue to inspire so many essays and analysis texts. Mulholland Drive is still Lynch's most complex film, and no scene is more jarring than an instance in which Patrick Fischler's then discusses having a dream about a nightmarish creature while in a dinner, only to later witness the unsightly being moments later. It's the first instance in Mulholland Drive in which Lynch seems to indicate that reality isn't to be trusted and that what the characters witness in their dreams might end up playing out in real life.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I've not seen this film. Okay,
Mm.
anything in there that's interesting too that you want to ask about? Anything that's a bit here that you're not sure of?
Uh, I've never seen this movie,
No.
so I don't know how to
I think I'd like to watch it now.
how to comment it.
So any words there? What about the word notorious? What does that mean? Notorious. I think your pronunciation was
Not,
pretty
not
good, I think.
notorious, maybe like a naughty,
Yeah.
mm,
Um,
not
no,
simple.
a bit more detail would be that you're
Mm-hmm.
famous for doing something that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a bad thing. A little bit like it's a little bit like infamous. A little bit like infamous. You're well known for doing something bad. Okay, anything else? How about surreal? What does that mean? Surreal.
Unreal.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's pretty much it. Sort of a bit
Mm-hmm.
bit magical,
Yeah,
bit sort
magical.
of Roman
Not
rooted.
exists in reality.
Yeah, yeah. Outside of reality, that's it. That's good. I thought your thematic was very good. Your thematic was very good, I thought. There was another word there. It was how about this word here? You said that a couple of times, that one. Let's do that. Let's do those few words again. Are
Yeah.
you okay on the meaning of these words?
Definitive interpretation of the thematic.
Yeah, that's perfect.
The
Yes. Definitive
definitive.
interpretation of the thematic. That's it. Yes. This is quite sort of thoughtful, isn't it? So thematic is to do with the themes in the movie. So maybe it's strange, weird monsters that appear. Is that the theme of the movie? I don't know. And we've done interpretation, sort of my view on what this means, you could say. But definitive means really sort of like the one and only correct one, possibly the definite one, the
Mm-hmm.
true one, possibly something like that. And being that he is but it being that David Lynch is something like the director or not the producer, but he seems to be the author in some way of the film. He should be the one who has the definitive meaning in the back of his head. But I think they're saying he won't give it because that's not his style. Interesting. Anything else there?
In first paragraph.
Or,
Mm.
or anywhere, really. Anything we've read this today, really. Or just this bit here, I'm mainly thinking, but it could be anywhere. So I think Mulholland is a real. It was. I think there's the Mulholland Tunnel in New York. I think it's in New York, and it was named after a guy called Mulholland. And I suppose there must be other drives and roads and avenues called Drive, but I don't know for definite. But there's a definite Mulholland tunnel in New York, I think it is. So it really exists. Is that word okay for you?
Um, crime scene is more jarring.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Yeah.
Jarring is, don't know, like a rattling or something.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's quite shocking, surprising. Oh,
Mhm.
I didn't really like that. It's a bit too bit too close to the bone, some people would say. Yeah, so some bits of it not necessarily enjoyable because it was a bit too surprising and something wrong about it. Yeah, jarring. That's not good. So your INGs are sort of a little bit sort of they make it hard. They make it a little bit harder to understand what you're saying
Yeah,
with your
jarring.
R. So if I think you do need to spend a bit of time on your ING sounds, or really the NG sound, isn't it? Really, I suppose. Okay, so bear that in mind. I know that's come up before, to be honest. That's an interesting surname. I think I would say Fischlers. Fischlers. I think you pretty much said that exactly. So something like that. Yeah. One word I did notice with this one here. This is in the title as well. So this word
Jarring.
here. So this word and this word here. So this. I think you said dinner,
Yes,
but it's actually
it is
diner. That's
diner,
diner.
diner.
Yeah. So dinner is the meal that you eat at
Yeah,
four
yeah.
o'clock in the afternoon. But this is a
The
place.
Chinese
The
meal.
diner is the place you might eat it in. We don't really have. Diners is a new idea, sort of last 30, 40, 50 years in the UK. We didn't really used to have diners in the UK until the last 50 years, let's say. So, but America's always had them. But we know what they are, of course. Uh, yeah. I think that was reasonably well read, I think. Should we just practice that a little bit there again, where we go down to there? So I'll read it too, then it's your go again. So this is my reading then. So Mulholland Drive is still Lynch's most complex film, and no scene is more jarring than an instance in which Patrick Fischler's Dan discusses having a dream about a nightmarish creature while in a diner. So you'll go. You'll go.
Mulholland Drive is still Lynch's most complex film, and no scene is more jarring than an instance in which Patrick Fischler's then discusses having a dream about a nightmarish creature while in a diner.
Yeah, well,
In a
in the
diner.
dinner, he was sitting inside the dinner itself. Sat on the table. It was all over his trousers. Yeah, yeah, that was really good when he said, "I like that jarring." That's the best. That's the best one there. Actually, very good. But strangely, when he got down to having, down here, having, that one
Having.
sounded a bit weak. So all
Mhm.
of your energy went into saying this one.
Yeah,
When you
when I
came to this one,
concentrate
you lost it a bit down
somewhat.
here. So yeah, the ing it's a tricky sound. A lot of people struggle with it. So yeah, yeah. So diner, and it's Mulholland, Mulholland.
Mulholland.
Mm. I don't know. I've never seen this name in the UK, but it's just in America that name is famous. Have you got time for another one? Well, it might be Rushland's go now. Ruslan. Do you want to read one of these? We could actually. I was thinking about actually watching this scene, but then again, maybe not. We'd actually be breaking copyright if we did that. Yeah, let's watch it anyway. No, we haven't got the time. Let's carry
Mhm.
on reading.
Yeah.
So, Ruslan, do you fancy reading this one? So this is number 9, if you've got time, Ruslan.
Yeah, okay.
So in some movie, the movie must be Inception. I have heard of this film. I've not seen it again, but I must watch it. Reading these makes me watch it now. So the scene seems to be called The Spinning Top. And I think this is the photo of a spinning top. It looks really, really small, this is, I think. So over to you. Over to you. As much as you want, Ruslan.
The spinning, the spinning top, Inception, Christopher Nolan, 2010. Christopher Nolan uh, has has fondness for plot twists and Inception has several shocking, shocking reliefs regarding the dream thief, thief cop, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and his dead wife Mel, uh, portrayed by Marion Cotillard, who has returned as a part of his subconscious to draw him back into endless sleep, with the most debated aspect of the ending is when Cobb returns to finally see his children, a moment that is so satisfying for him that he immediately spins atop to see if he is still dreaming. Nolan cleverly chooses to cut before the top either falls or spins to eternity, making it unclear if Cobb has actually returned to his family or been trapped within another dream. In the 26 years since Inception was released, because Cobb is no longer wearing his wedding ring, some have suspected that he has accepted his wife's death and is now living in reality.
Hmm. I've not seen this film either. So anything in there that's interesting for you?
Yeah, but actually,
Yeah.
I can't understand the
No.
main point of it. What has he done
Hmm.
for the trick his opponent or yeah,
But
his enemy?
yeah. I'm not quite sure what you're saying. So yeah, it is confusing because we're jumping into the middle of a film that no
Oh,
one's seen, and we don't know what led up to it. Yeah. So it's obviously about cops. And was it a bad cop? Was he a bad cop?
Cobb. This Cobb, it is
Thief?
like a cop.
Um, did
It,
I?
it is a policeman, or what? What does it mean,
What?
cop?
Yeah, so that's his name, Cobb.
Ah,
That's
cop.
his surname. That's his
Ah,
surname. But for
sure.
some
Okay.
reason, I jumped to the conclusion it was a policeman. Maybe I'm talking. I don't know why I did that. I must be wrong. I must be wrong. So what is your query again? I didn't quite catch the gist of it.
Yeah, actually, I understood from it that the main point is that he was able to trick in some way to someone to protect his family, but actually, my question is. What has he done for it? What exactly he did to protect his family?
Well, we
We can find out from this short two articles
no.
or two
If we
paragraph.
probably play this,
Ah,
maybe. Yeah,
okay.
maybe. And maybe we will watch that. I don't know. But so in the film we don't really know, but
Ah,
the only thing I picked up was this little spinning thing here, and I think this is a very, very small spinning top. You can just spin it between two fingers, and it's roughly the size of the end of your little finger, this thing here. And you would spin it around, and what happened to it after you span it, it would tell you if you were in a dream or not in a dream. That's my understanding from reading this. But the exact ins and outs and what it all means, I don't really know. Um, Let me read it back. Let me read. Well, maybe we'll leave it for the moment. Maybe we'll look at a couple of words before we do that. So I don't really know the answer to that question, to be honest. So any words in particular?
yeah. Actually, mm, Inception. Actually, what does it mean? Like
Um,
Inception.
well, let's put it in the dictionary because I'm not completely sure. So if you're the start of some if you start something, you can talk about the inception as being the very start of something, like the like conception as being the birth, of being the moment that you became you started to exist as a small baby, as an embryo, let's say. So the inception of an institution or organization or something or activity is the start, is its start sort of thing. You might talk about the inception of the United Kingdom or something. So it started in whatever year it
Mm.
was. So here there's a beginning, start, rise, or birth. Okay.
Ah,
I'm
okay.
sure I've seen this spelt with an E. Have I spelled? Well, perhaps I have never spelled it with an F. Am I imagining that? I must be imagining that. I think probably. I normally seem to imagine. My spelling's awful, so. I thought there might
Mhm.
be different versions way of spelling it, but there isn't. Okay, so it's always the outstart or the origin outset, I should say, source, root, conception. So it's like conception, isn't it, really? Oh, it's really old, isn't it? So
But
anything else? Yeah,
Tony,
yeah.
for example, could I say my inception will start from this one to end it from this one? Is it okay or not?
Not really, no.
Okay.
So have they got any example things here? So I haven't really got it. It's really the beginning of something. So you might talk about the inception of the Sounds of English meetup group. The inception of the amount of the Sounds of English group was in September of 2013. Let's say I can't remember when it was. I think it might have been 20. It might have been years before that. But so so here's an example here. So since its inception or beginning, since its inception, the company has produced 53 different aircraft designs. That's how you
Oh,
might use it as a word there.
okay, okay.
So the beginning, it doesn't get a great deal of use, really. But in in this film, it's the name of a film, and so they can pick
Yes.
any word to call a film, can't they? To name a film, they have any idea. Any possible word could be used as the name of a film, really. Um,
Okay.
but there seems to be this idea of is this confusion between reality and dream, or subconscious. When am I dreaming? And when is this reality? So I suppose you might say, from your inception, how do you know that you weren't born in a dream and you're still in a dream? And so you could say sort of the Matrix film plays with that idea, isn't the word the Matrix film? You don't know if you're in reality or in a dream or in a sleep of some sort. Um,
Okay.
okay. I've not seen the film, so that's half the problem really here. Um, I think I think you were pretty good on that word. So those two words there. So plot twists. That's
Plot
quite good.
twist. Yeah, plot actually I know it's means like
Mm.
someone created a bad plan uh, for the government, yeah, the plot.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, it can mean that. Yes.
Yeah, and it is like a second meaning of it. It is plot.
Mm.
It is like a subject. Yeah, for example,
Yeah, pretty much the subject. Yes, you can say that, I think.
twist.
But normal in this sense here, they're saying the plot is sort of the storyline in a sense. It's
Yeah,
the
story.
direction of the story. It's not exactly you can't exactly say it's the script, but it's almost the script. It's kind of like the brief outline of the script. So a whole film might be an hour or 2 hours long, but you might be able to give the plot in about sort of 20 or 30 words. That's the plot. So in this story
Yeah,
here, the plot is that there's some special machine, I'm guessing now, in the film Inception, and it either puts you in a sleep or it wakes you up. And the only way you'll know if you're one or the other is by spinning a little spinning top, And if it falls one way, you're awake, and if it falls another way, you're asleep, and that's the only way you can find out. And that's the whole film. And I'm just guessing all of that. I just made that up on the spur of the moment. That might be the plot of the movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I liked
yeah.
your other one, which says sometimes a group of terrorists might have a plot against the government, and they're sort of trying to blow something up, maybe, or something like that. Yeah, that was the other meaning, or another meaning of the word. That was well used on your part, I think. There, that was good.
Yes.
Um,
For example, a twist, it is like a turn, yeah,
yeah, a
turn
turn.
up,
Yeah, the turn.
turn,
So
turn.
normally with a rope, it's twisted up. They're not normally a rope is normally twisted when you get it, or a bit of string, it's twisted, and that gives it strength, etc. I think. So you could say anything might be twisted. My leg is twisted and it's broken. My leg is twisted. My ankle is twisted. So
For
something's gone
example,
wrong. Yeah.
with the words, for example,
Yeah.
my friend shared me something about his
Yeah.
friend, and I I told it to someone a bit in different way, and could I say that I twisted a bit
Yes.
what he said to me last
Yes.
night, for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah. I twisted the story a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Yes, that's very good. True. Yes.
Mm.
And of course, that's half the point with plot twists. With a story, you think you can predict the ending, but in films to keep you watching and keep you interested. They change the way the story is going to end just at the last moments, maybe to keep you interested. That is a plot twist, an unexpected change in the direction of the story.
Okay,
Anything
yeah,
else there?
yeah. Mm. Yeah, subconscious. It is like
Yeah.
when we are asleep, yeah, we in subconscious.
Um, it's. I would probably say you're unconscious when you're
And
asleep. We had this
uh,
before actually. So
yeah,
there's a
absolutely.
couple, two or three different words all around each other. So when you're conscious,
Yeah,
that's the second part of the word. That's when you're awake and everyone's normal.
yeah,
If
like
you're
now,
not,
yeah,
if you have an accident on your motorcycle or something and you fall off, you might be knocked unconscious. So
unconscious.
you might be in a coma or something, or you might just be unconscious for 10 seconds, then wake up if you've just fallen off a motorcycle or something. But subconscious is a little bit different. The subconscious really is that part of your mind which we don't have normal access to. When you think about something, we think about what you did yesterday, that's your conscious mind you're going through, or your memory, you might say, and that's perfectly normal. But your subconscious mind is normally that part of your brain or your thinking part of you, which you don't really have access to. But when you sleep, I think Freud said that when you're sleeping, there is a degree where it's where it breaks through when you're sleeping, your subconscious. And when you remember your dreams, you're dealing with some part of your subconscious. Although I can't remember if and actually I think it was Freud who came up with the word subconscious. It didn't exist before that. Either he invented subconscious or unconscious. I can't remember which one he invented. So he invented one of those words, and we've now carried on using it. So it's a bit confusing. So does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Good.
definitely. And debate it is like to have a discussion, but in a
Yeah.
formal way, yeah, like politics do.
Yeah, that's right. You can have a political debate, yes. But you could say in a film, you could say there's a debate going on in a film in some ways between two different things that are happening. Is the criminal righteous in doing what he did, or was the policeman right in doing what he did? So it's
Yeah,
comparing two different things. In some ways, you could look at a film doing that. I don't know, but I've not seen this film again, so I'm guessing here to a degree.
How about top Ida? Ida? For
I,
yeah, this is
is that down? Is that in the
second.
second paragraph?
Yeah, second paragraph, top sentences on the middle. Yeah,
This
Either,
word?
yeah.
either.
Yeah,
Ida, yeah.
yeah.
Ida.
I think when you read it out, you said it just about right. I had no problem with it. So, there's two ways of saying this word. There's either and either. Either.
Ida. Yeah, yeah. That's why probably I asked
Oh,
you.
okay. So
Yeah,
the Americans, I think, say either, tend to say either, and in Britain we tend to say either, either.
Ida.
So
It is
I
like a
tend,
both. Yeah.
yeah, one or the other. It's either this way, or it's the other way. It's either or either, either
Okay.
or. So it's one thing or the other, either or either.
Yeah.
So it's as
And
if there's two choices to pick. Something like, yeah, carry
yeah.
on.
Oh, okay. And next one. Trapped. Being
Trapped.
trapped. Yeah.
Yeah.
What does it mean? Trapped.
Well, here they're talking about being trapped within a dream. So in the film, he
Yeah.
might be that he doesn't know if he's in the dream or not in a
Oh,
dream. So if you're in a prison, if you're stuck in a basement or in a prison, you could say you're trapped in prison or trapped in the basement. Trapped.
just
You
like to
can't
be
get out.
close. To be close. No. To
Yeah,
stuck.
you could be stuck inside something. Yeah, you could
Ah,
be trapped
stuck.
inside the fridge. Let's say as a joke, you got into the fridge because it was completely empty, no shelves in
Ah,
there, no food, and you couldn't. Once you got in there, you couldn't get the door open again. So you're now trapped inside the fridge or freezer or whatever, or trapped inside the wardrobe. Why you would be doing that, I don't know.
trapped.
So trap. Sometimes you might set up a trap for somebody as a joke, and the their pen or their cup of tea falls over and it goes on their lap. Oh no, what happened here? That's you set up a
Okay.
trap. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
a mouse trap. They normally catch mice and you throw them out into the garden. Some people kill them, of course, but other people just throw them out if you catch a mouse.
Yeah. But when the
Yeah,
mouse uh, got inside the trap,
yeah.
all they are killed. Yeah, I guess.
So there's certain designs of mousetrap where the something
Uh,
comes down very suddenly and it kills them. But there's other designs where they're just trapped physically like a small cell, like a small box that gets stuck inside there.
okay.
There's two or three different designs, well, loads of different designs of. I think there's been contests designing mousetraps, hasn't there? So there's lots of mousetraps out there. There was one other word I noticed, but I can't see it here.
Wait.
It was at the end somewhere. Oh yeah, yeah,
Mm, the,
yeah. Oh, so it was the th again. So at the end, so
ah,
it was too much like an f on the end. So it's
the,
pretty much every single 99.9% of the time, wherever you see th, it's putting your tongue towards your teeth or touching the back of your teeth or putting the tip of your tongue out between your teeth. So always touch your
between.
teeth with your
Okay,
tongue.
okay, between my teeth. Yeah.
Yeah.
But do I need put my tongue more like on the middle or just only a little bit of my tongue between my teeth?
It's up to you, really, what you feel
Yeah,
comfortable
but
with. So I'm not
actually,
going to say whichever you have to want to do, really.
death. Yeah, death. Like this? Death.
Ooh. Um, yeah, I had a sneeze then, so excuse me. So yeah, I could hear that then. You were definitely doing that then, yes, weren't you? Hmm.
Okay.
Let me say it. So most of the time, I don't put my tongue out. I just touch it. I say touch. I sort of cover up with my tongue, my two big teeth at the front. So I'm not just
Um,
gently touching the back of my teeth. I'm
okay.
sort of covering up a couple of those teeth, not covering them up, but sort of touching across the two teeth, I would say. Death.
Okay.
So
Okay.
death, death.
deaf, deaf,
Yeah,
deaf,
that's definitely getting there. That sounds pretty good
deaf.
actually. Deaf,
Oh,
deaf.
okay, deaf. Yeah, like this. Deaf.
But if you're using your lower
Okay.
lip to get that sound, it's going to come out like an F. F. So
Oh,
if I say that now as if that was an F on the end, it'd be deaf,
okay.
deaf. And to get that F, that sound at the end, I'm using my lower lip. And it sounded like that was what you were doing when you said that one there. It sounded quite strongly like that. But when you use your tongue, it just sounds not completely different, but it sounds quite different, I would say. So I'll say it with my tongue now. So death, death, death. And with my lip, so making it an F, deaf, 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 deaf. So this is, if you're deaf, you can't hear something. You can't hear properly. But this is obviously dying, isn't it? This one.
Uh, yeah, yeah, this like a dying, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a different meaning if you how you pronounce it. So if you use your tongue, it sounds correctly in this case. But if you lower lip, it's like a different word,
Ah, okay, okay.
different meaning. So there's some point to it. But he does say here his wife's death. So his wife died, clearly. You can guess that from the context. From the
Yeah, yeah.
context. So anyway, so even if it was pronounced incorrectly, it doesn't really matter greatly. That's all I noticed. So over to Elena. So anything you want to ask about this passage, Elena?
No,
No,
no.
not. So okay. So shall we go over to you again, Elena? Do you want a quick read again? So number 8,
Mm-hmm.
if you got time. Okay. And this will probably be the last one. So, this is the ending. I must have seen that two or three of them were the ending. So there's a film called The Thing, made in 1982, and it's over to you, Elena.
Mm-hmm. Eight, the ending, the thing. John Carpenter, 1982. John Carpenter got the last laugh with the Thing, his remake of the classic monster movie The Thing from Another World, which was met with mixed reviews upon its original release, only to be deemed a horror masterpiece in the years to come, but audiences in 1982 1982 were left baffled by the film's ending, in which it is not clear if Macready, played by Kurt Russell, and Childs, played by Keith David, have been infected by the alien predator. Russell has worked with Carpenter more than anyone, but has remained quiet on what the director's intention was with the final moment. Although there is reason to support multiple theories, the fact that the audiences are still left with the same heightened level of suspense at the end of the thing is one of the many reasons that it has such lasting power as a stomach churning work of body horror.
Yes.
Stomach churning.
Yes. Yeah, churning, churning.
Churning, stomach
It's similar.
churning.
It's sort of it's similar idea to turning, really.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever you're talking about the stomach, not whenever, but often with stomach churning, it's being turned over repeatedly, I suppose. If you're making milk, you talk about churning the milk sometimes.
Mm.
I think it anyway. Yeah, but it's similar idea to turning and churning are very similar. They sound very similar and they have the same sort of meaning, really.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's just do that again, that last bit. So stomach churning work of body horror. Do you want to do it once more? So stomach churning, churning.
Stomach churning work of body horror.
So it sounds a little bit like a T when you're saying it. So if you did
Churning.
replace that with the T, it's a different word, but it does strangely have a similar meaning.
Churning.
Ch, ch, ch,
Churning.
churning. Yeah, churning.
Mhm.
That's it. Yeah. So the ing not sounding quite right, it makes it difficult to understand what you're saying a little bit there. Um, so being that the film was called The Thing, so it's ing. When you were saying it, all I could hear was that. So the thin.
The thin.
Yeah, that's all I could hear. So in other
Mhm.
words, that's a different thin is a different word to thing, isn't it? So it did sound like you were saying a different word all the time. Oh, but that is a tricky sound though, isn't it? So let's quick look at the th the ing sound again. So what are you doing when you see that's those two letters together? What sound are you trying to make? Can you describe it, or can you do it at
N,
all, or
like a n, but like a pronounce through nose, through
yeah,
noise. Mhm.
it's sort
Thin.
of a nasal sound. That's it. Yeah, it
Mhm.
comes through the nose. That's true. Um, yeah, so we could practice again. Those some words, I suppose. So whenever there's a word, whenever you see N in a word, wherever it is, most of the time, as far as I'm aware, you lift your tongue at the front to pronounce it. You lift your tongue at the front. But when you see
Mhm.
NG together, you do lift your tongue again, but it's at the back. You're lifting your tongue at the back. And I think that's not, again, 99.9% of the time we see NG together, you're basically lifting, you need to lift your tongue at the back to get this sound. But what you're doing is you're lifting it at the front. I can hear you very plainly lifting it at the front. And there's no sound of at all lifting your tongue at the back. So if I just say both of those words, if I say thin to start with, and then I'll say thing, you can hopefully you can hear there's a slight difference. So the first one is thin, thin,
Thin.
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 You've
Thin.
got no trouble in saying that. But when it comes to thing with a G on the end, I don't hear the NG sound at all there. So if I say thing a few times with the NG on the end, so thing, thing, ing, ing. I'm just in the ing bit now. Ing,
In.
ing. Can you try and make just the ing sound? So
In.
I'm starting with a
In.
e sound for the I, and the ng is this me lifting my tongue at the back. The ing.
In.
Mm, I can't hear
In.
it. I'm sorry. Um,
In.
no, just in all I'm hearing there. Um, so the only sort of trick that I'm aware of, there's probably a few tricks, but so with this word here, so this is ink. With a pen, there's ink in it.
Mhm.
That's simple. Can you say the word ink?
Ink.
Ink. And again, ink.
Ink.
Yeah, so to get this NK sound again, you're doing something very similar to the NG sound. So
Ink.
can you feel that your tongue is lifting up at the back when you're making the ink? Where is your tongue when you're making the NK sound? Ink, ink.
Between my teeth.
Your tongue is there. I don't know how you're making it
Yeah.
then.
Ink.
Um,
Ink.
would most people to get the ink sound, the I isn't really the problem, but when they make the N and they see that there's a K, people tend to raise their tongue towards the back. Ink. E. But when normally with an N, you're lifting your tongue at the front. But when you sit with the word ink, most people lift it at the back. It sounds like you're saying it really quite well. It sounds like you're lifting your tongue at the back. If I go back to the Sounds of English group over here, often one of the photos, let's see if we've got it today. Oh, because there it is there. Yeah, this is the photo. So there's well over 1,000 photos in this folder here. But if we look at this one photo, if we can find it, of course, if it comes up, it sort of shows a side view of a side view of your head of someone's head. and one is N and one is NK. So if I download the photo, make it slightly bigger. So in one of those pictures on the left, that's N. That's the sound there, N. So you lift your tongue at the front. So this is the person's lips here,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the nose. That's the nasal cavity up there. So, and these things are the teeth. So that's the normal N sound. This is thin. That's the N of
Mm-hmm.
thin. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how most will make an N. The N sound of thin. But over here, this is the NG sound. NG. So it's vaguely similar in that you're still blocking the air coming into the mouth because the tongue is touching the roof of your mouth, but it's at the back, and all the air is going to a nasal cavity up here and coming out, and the sound really is coming out of your nose. A bit disgusting, really. But it just sounds different. Although you're still blocking the air coming out with your tongue, but I suppose maybe the cavity is doubled in size. Not only is the nasal cavity, you got the mouth cavity too, and so the sound just sounds different when it comes out of the mouth at the end. And the letter M is letter M, so mummy, mumma, that's vaguely similar, but we're talking about N here. And I think I don't so and in NK we do something similar to here as well. Of course, but right inside the mouth, you can't really, you can't really easily see it, of course, here. So, do you have anything to ask about these photos at all? Anything you want to ask about these pictures? Do you
Pictures
understand
are
what it's
good,
showing?
but yes, but when you try to pronounce to
Yeah,
say something, you can't hold. We can't hold in our head everything all together.
yeah, yeah.
All the
Well,
grammar rules and how
yeah,
must
yeah.
be tone in
Oh
our mouth.
no. Well, so if we just concentrate on one thing at a time, that's probably the thing to do, isn't it? I guess. So I'll leave it to you then to think about this. I'm pretty sure we've done this before. I know we have, but it's tricky, isn't it? But there's certain
Because
words
it's
where
unconsciously, usually for
say again.
native speakers. For native speakers, it's unconsciously. So ask
Oh
any
yeah. Mm,
native speaker, where is
mm.
their tone? Where is the
No, yeah, they won't. They
where-
won't be able to say. They won't know. True. Very true. And if you try to explain, I don't know, so let's say some Cyrillic sounds to me, I probably couldn't copy them. So
Mm.
yeah, so it's not. It's damn tricky. The Chinese people never have trouble with this sound. They're brilliant at this sound. They're really good. So if you know any Chinese people, ask them about this sound. That they might be able to help you. But then again, even they would say it's probably just natural. It's just natural. Well, why can't you make the sound? They would probably say. But it sort of has it has a sort of a French origin. I understand. I think this particular we didn't. It wasn't.
Bourgogne, Champagne.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
French.
Yeah, probably, yeah, yeah. So in the French have lots of nasal, don't they have nasal vowels? So there'd be A, E, I, O, U, but they have nasal vowels then, don't they? So the sound comes out the nose, a lot of their vowels, if you're doing French properly, I think. But so yes. Okay. Do you want to go? Do you want to practice some of those words at all, or are you just a bit too tired now?
Not today, obviously. No, sorry.
Well, it's up to you. So, but when you're saying whenever you're saying the word thing, this bottom word, it sounded
Mm.
every single time like the top word. I could only hear this top word when you were reading it. So, so there is a little bit of confusion there, I would say. Yeah. Another thing is that um, people in Liverpool tend to mix up this sound, and in Birmingham, they sort of mix up this sound. They said they can make sort of a double G sound sometimes. They make the NG sound, then they put an extra G
Mhm.
on the end of it sometimes.
It's very interesting. It's so many
Mm.
accents in
Yeah,
England,
yeah,
especially in Scottish accent is
yeah, yeah. There's a
unbelievable. But all English people understand each other. So they can't understand foreign people, but they can understand each other.
well, but there is a degree of you heard of the idea of getting your ear in. So it's sort of getting used to the way how somebody speaks. So when you're young and the first time you go to Scotland, you don't understand what people are saying because you don't, if you're English, let's say, and you've never heard Scots, it just sounds too broad. You can't understand what they're saying. So it can be tricky. So you get your ear in, you get used to it. It takes a while, but you do get used to it. And the Welsh accent and other accents, south, west. Yeah. Um, I'll have to think about some more examples of how we can practice this sound, make these sounds, because obviously it is a bit tricky. So maybe we'll leave it there, or we could chat about anything really. Maybe we should do a little bit of conversation now. So have you seen any good films, or have you seen any of these films? So
Uh, they're old enough, all movies.
this is really old.
Yeah.
But I think I saw
Yeah.
the 1950s version of The Thing, because they were saying about this was a remake. So when they say a remake, they're saying it's the second time or third time that they've
Mm.
made this film. They've redone this story a second or third time. The first one was really quite frightening. As a child, I saw it. So it's. Have you seen this film, you guys? The Usual Suspects? Again, this is another really old film.
Yeah.
Incredibly old. Didn't you say this was older than you, this film, didn't you say?
Yeah, actually, in 2 years, yeah, this film is older.
A lot of people loved the film at the time, and I saw it like 20 years later or something. Ah, how about The Matrix? So that's a little bit more more modern, 2003. It's only 23 years old, this movie. So have you seen this movie, you guys? Any of the
Mm.
Matrix series for movies?
I watched Matrix. It's original Matrix, first one.
Ah, yes, okay. I think I saw that in the in the film, in the theater, in the cinema in 1999, I think it was. I think it was a girlfriend I saw it with, I think. Oh, he does say there, the breakout hit 1999. It says it right there.
Mm. So the
I,
second Matrix.
Yeah.
I
I think this
say
might be
pro
the third one. Is this the third one? Does it say the third one? Oh, I don't know. Oh, yeah. I have a vague idea. I think they made a whole. Once they saw the first one was so popular, they made a whole bunch of them, didn't they? How about Blade Runner? That's a really old movie again, 82. Anyone seen that movie? That's a sort of set in the science fiction future, isn't it? Where there are robots walking around, but you can't work out who are humans, and who are robots. That's the premise of that film, I think, isn't it? I think. Would there be any modern movies here? Army of the Dead, 2003. You can
Mhm.
interrupt me at any time. Ah. Uh, The Shining. Now, this was the movie, I think, with Jack Nicholson in. If we go back to the beginning, I think this photo here is from The Shining, and this is Jack Nicholson. I think he was in that movie, and he played a deranged, slightly mad writer. I think he tried to kill his wife or something. No, The Shining. Oh, I don't know. Whatever it's called. Yeah, it says, oh, Jack Tollance. Maybe that must be the name of the. I must be talking rubbish here. So how about Stephen King? Because he wrote this story, I think, didn't he? Have any of you guys read Stephen King's movies, films, books? He wrote sort of books, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
What about his stories? Are they any good?
Some of them, yes.
Hmm. Oh, some of them.
Mhm. I like the story. I don't remember the name of his book about
Oh, okay.
the uh, was 1952 when the President John Kennedy was killed. Something.
Was that 1960? Oh.
It's amazing book
Oh, that.
written by Stephen King.
So what's the title of the book again? So
Yeah, I
is
don't remember.
it's about Kennedy
Mm.
being assassinated.
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, I thought
it's
but
some
it's not.
kind of
Is it a
theory.
story or is it
No,
a?
it's a theory, just one of the theories,
Oh, it's the theory. I've got you.
Yeah, fantastic theories.
It says 2001, but that was the name of the movie 2001. It was made in 1968. Very futuristic movie that was. I think I can't remember the scene in that movie. Maybe it is
Yeah,
the
I
Star
found it.
Child
It's
movie.
11/22/69 book by
Oh,
Stephen
that's what it's
King.
called. 11/22/69.
22/69, yes.
Ah, okay. So who was assassinated in 1969? That wasn't. Was that his brother, Robert Kennedy? So who was assassinated in 1969 then?
Wait, 63? Wait, maybe 63? Ah, it's, yes.
Oh,
It's 63. 63.
yeah, I think so.
11,
Yeah.
22, 63.
Oh, it could be 63. Oh, I've
Yeah.
got you. I've got you. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Because in the 60s, a whole series of
Science fiction
assassinations.
thriller. Mhm. It's like about a travel machine, back and forward.
Oh, is that the movie? Is that about the story that Stephen King wrote is about a sort of time machine, is it?
Ah, I didn't watch movie. I just read this book.
No, I'm getting confused. I've not seen the movie, if there is one. Okay. Well, I'll look out for that. I'll look out for that. So I'm looking for some interesting stories to read. Okay. So the film called The Graduate is sort of quite famous, I think. Um, The Graduate, why is it famous? Oh, it had Simon and Garfunkel sung in the film. Perhaps the opening scene or something. Have you ever heard of? Have you guys heard of Simon and Garfunkel?
Uh-huh.
Of course, they're sort of great singer-songwriters,
Yeah.
but they didn't really get on very well with each other. They had lots of arguments, and they sort of split up after a few years. The wedding sequence is quite a good sequence. Maybe we'll just watch that. No, maybe we won't. So, what do you want to do, you guys? We could just have more conversation. What do you want to talk about?
Unfortunately, I have to leave.
Okay,
Sorry. Yeah, it's too
that's
late
great.
for me.
Okay, so
Yeah.
see you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for this evening.
Hopefully it's useful. Yes, absolutely. See you next time.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Have you seen this previous movie, number two of our
Number.
list?
Let's go back
Because
up to.
probably, yeah, you told that
Oh,
you
number
saw
two.
number two. Yeah, yeah,
Three. Oh, four. Two. The Star Child.
yeah. The Star Child. Have you seen it? No.
Well, the movie is called. Most people call it 2001.
Yeah.
Or A Space Odyssey. That's Odyssey. Odyssey. That's the name. Odyssey. Um, but I think the scene in the movie is called The Star Child, and I guess it's this picture here. That must be the Star Child, I guess. I don't. Looking at it here, I just don't remember it. But there is this movie. It's famous for this very very long scene of about 20 minutes towards the very end of the movie, where most people really don't know what the hell is going on. It's basically lots of flashing lights and weird coloured patterns on the screen. People just don't really understand it. But if it was 2 minutes or 30 seconds, it might be okay. But it goes on for something like 20 minutes. No one understands it.
Oh my gosh.
It's
Because
it's a long movie as well.
yeah,
But
because when I saw the title of this movie, I
mm,
thought I thought that it's probably about because it was created 1968, yeah, and
Oh yeah.
I thought that the author would like to predict how life would like in 2001, and
Mm.
I thought that this about it, but actually it is not, yeah.
Actually, I think you're probably right. Actually, I
Oh,
think you
yeah.
are right. But I think the author or the director of the movie, I think he was probably thinking not 2001, but many thousands, even tens of thousands of years into the future. I guess maybe in 100,000 years into the future. So
Okay.
yeah, so I think you're probably right, actually. Yeah, but much further into the future.
D- have you ever heard about the movie which called Knives Out?
Is it night out? Are you saying night?
Knife. When we cut it something, we use
Oh yeah,
knife.
knife.
Knives out, but it is plural. Make it
Oh,
plural. Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Knives
Is
out.
that is it a violent movie? Is it? Is it?
No, it is not actually violence. It's
No.
like a
Okay.
comedy
Oh, a
about
comedy. This doesn't sound like it.
yeah, but it is about the rich family.
Yeah.
Not yeah, about the rich family, and the main character had a lot of money, and he had more relatives, which who wanted to be how would say heritated from his uh,
Oh, inherited. Inherit.
inherited. Yeah, yeah. They
So
wanted to
who
be
wanted to
inherited.
inherit? Sorry, the son. Normally, the son would inherit the parents' properties or whatever.
Yeah, but this old rich man had
Hmm.
really big family,
Yeah.
and he left a daughter. He probably got two daughters, two
Mm.
sons, and yeah, and grandsons, and he divided his money and not I would say property, yeah, like this, some business,
Mm.
not equally, yeah,
Oh.
but yeah, actually, yeah, I can't explain because yeah, there is so many
Right.
details, and
Yeah.
no one got his money
Ah.
except his housemate,
His housemaid.
Yeah, but actually, he he made him died. You know,
He killed him, you mean?
he killed him. Yeah, but not how would say deliberately. Uh,
Directly.
it's not directly. Yeah, uh, deliberately. I would say dire. One second, I need to use my translator.
Why are you doing that? I'll just stop the recording. Yeah, carry on.
No.
Deliberate.
worries.